Sir, good morning, sir. This is Group 5 for Marlaw, talking about Chapter 2 to 1 of SOLAS. We'll be explaining the regulations part by part, then summarize at the end. So let me share the screen for you. So this is our PowerPoint presentation for our virtual presentation, talking about SOLAS Chapter 2-1 Provisions, PSMT S3 Bravo. Here are our members for Group 5, CABANA Daniel C, INGUIN NIÑO Joseph A, OCAMPO John Eric Z, Panganiban Martin Henri A, RAZON Jr. Ricardo I, and ERICKSON S. Reyes. One part A1, structure of the ship.
Regulation 3-2.4, page 46. The effectiveness of the protective coating system shall be verified during the life of a ship by the administration or an organization recognized by the administration based on guidelines developed by the organization. Regulation 3-3, page 46. Every tanker shall be provided with the means to enable the crew to gain safe access to the bow even in severe weather conditions. Such means of access shall be approved by the administration based on guidelines developed by the organization. Regulation 3-4.1 2.2, page 47. Emergency towing arrangements at both ends shall be of adequate strength, taking into account the size and dead weight of the ship and the expected forces during bad weather conditions. The design, construction, and prototype testing of emergency towing arrangements shall be approved by the administration based on guidelines developed by the organization. Regulation 3-4.1.3, page 47. For tankers constructed before July 1, 2002, the design and construction of emergency towing arrangements shall be approved by the administration based on the guidelines developed by the organization. Regulation 3-8.3, page 50. Towing and mooring equipments arrangements, equipments and fittings provided in accordance with Regulation 3-8.2 shall meet the appropriate requirements of the administration or an organization recognized by the administration under Regulation 1-6. Regulation 3-12, page 52. On ships delivered before July 1, 2018 and one contracted for construction before July 1, 2014 and the keels of which are laid or which are at similar stage of construction on after 1 January 2009 but before 1 January 2015 or .2, in the absence of a building contract, the keels of which are laid or which are at a similar stage of construction on after 1 January 2009 but before 1 January 2015. Measures shall be taken to reduce machinery noise in machinery spaces to be acceptable levels as determined by the administration.
The next part is B1, stability.
Regulation 5.2, page 55. The administration may allow the inclining test of an individual cargo ship to be dispensed with, provided basic stability data are available from the inclining test of a sister ship, and it is shown to the satisfaction of the administration that reliable stability information for the exempted ship can be obtained from such basic data as required by Regulation 5 to 1. Regulation 5.3, page 55 again. The administration may also allow the inclining test of individual ship or class of ship specially designed for the carriage of liquid or ore in bulk to be dispensed with when reference to existing data from similar ships clearly indicates that due to ships proportion and arrangement, more than sufficient metacentric height will be available in all probable loading conditions.
The next part talks about the part B4, stability management. Regulation 20.1, page 80. On completion of loading of the ship and prior to its departure, the master shall determine the ship's stream and stability and also ascertain and record that the ship is in compliance with stability criteria and relevant regulations. Regulation 22.6, page 81. Watertight doors fitted in watertight bulkheads dividing cargo between deck spaces in accordance with Regulation 13.9.1 shall be closed before the voyage commences and shall be kept closed during navigation. The time of opening such doors in a port and of closing them before the ship leaves port shall be entered in the logbook. Regulation 22.12, page 82. The master shall ensure before a ship proceeds on any voyage that an entry in the logbook is made of the time of the last closing of the doors specified in Regulation 22.13 and the time of any opening of particular doors in accordance with Regulation 22.4. Regulation 22-1, Regulation 25, page 83. A flooding detection system for watertight spaces below the bulkhead deck shall be provided based on the guidelines developed by the organization. Flooding detection systems for passenger ships carrying 36 or more persons shall constructed on or after 1 July 2010. Regulation 23.6, page 83. Notwithstanding the requirements of Regulation 23.3, the administration may permit some accesses to be opened during the voyage, but only for a period such sufficient to permit through passage and, if required, for the essential working of the ship. Regulation 23.8, page 83. Notwithstanding the requirements of Regulation 23.7, the administration may permit some accesses within such bulkheads to be opened during the voyage, but only for sufficient time to permit through passage and, if required, for the essential working of the ship. Regulation 24.3, page 84. Watertight doors or ramps fitted to internally subdivide large cargo spaces shall be closed before the voyage commences and shall be kept closed during navigation. The time of opening such doors in port and of closing them before the ship leaves port shall be entered in the logbook. The next part is Part C, machinery installations.
Regulation 27.5, page 87, main turbine propulsion machinery, and where applicable, main internal combustion propulsion machinery and auxiliary machinery shall be provided with automatic shut-off arrangements in the case of failures such as lubricating oil supply failure, which could lead rapidly to complete breakdown, serious damage, or explosion. Regulation 29.1, page 87, the main steering gear and the auxiliary steering gear shall be so arranged that the failure of one of them will not render the other one inoperative. Unless expressly provided otherwise, every ship shall be provided with a main steering gear and an auxiliary steering gear to the satisfaction of the administration. Regulation 29.17.2, page 90, where the steering gear includes only a single rudder actuator, special consideration is given to stress analysis for the design, including fatigue analysis and fracture mechanic analysis, as appropriate to the material used, to the installation of sealing arrangement, and to testing, the inspection, and to the provision of effective maintenance. In consideration of the foregoing, the administration shall adopt regulation which include the provision of the guidelines for acceptance of non-duplicate rudder actuators for tankers, chemical tankers, and gas carriers of 10,000 gross tonnage and above less than 100,000 tons dead weight, adopted by organization. Regulation 32.1, page 93. However, having regard to the output or any other features of any boiler or unfired steam generator, the administration may permit only one safety valve to be fitted if it is satisfied that adequate protection against overpressure is thereby provided.
Okay, the next part is Part B, electrical installations.
Regulation 44.1, page 107. If this is impracticable or if the lower temperature are likely to be encountered, provisions acceptable to the administration shall be made for the maintenance of heating arrangements to ensure ready starting of the generating sets. Regulation 45.2, page 108. Exposed live parts having voltage to the earth exceeding a voltage to be specified by the administration shall not be installed on the front of such switchboards, the sides and the rear, and where necessary, the front of switchboards shall be suitably guarded. Main and emergency switchboards shall be so arranged as to give easy access as may be needed to apparatus and equipment without danger to personnel. Where necessary, non-conducting mats or grating shall be provided at the front and rear of the switchboard. Regulation 45.5.3, page 109. Cables and wiring serving essential or emergency power, lighting, internal communications, or signal shall, so far as practicable, be routed clear of galleys, laundries, machinery, spaces of cargo A, and their casing and other high fire risk areas. Regulation 45.11, page 110. However, for locations not covered by such standards, electrical equipment, cables, and wiring which do not conform to the standard may be installed in hazardous locations based on risk assessment to the satisfaction of the administration to ensure that an equivalent level of safety is assured. In tankers, electrical equipment, cables, and wiring shall not be installed in hazardous locations unless it conforms with standards not inferior to those acceptable to the organization.
Next part is part F. Next part is part F, alternative design and arrangements.
Regulation 55.4.1, page 116. The engineering analysis required in Part F, Regulation 3 shall be evaluated and approved by the administration, taking into account the guidelines developed by the organization. Regulation 55.6, page 116. If the assumption and operational restriction that were stipulated in the alternative design and arrangement are changed, the engineering analysis shall be carried out under the change condition and shall be approved by the administration.
Sir, that is the end of our PowerPoint presentation. Here is the short summary for every part of the SOLAS provisions. For the summary of part A1, which deals about the structure of the ship, it mainly talks about the competency and capability of a ship to go ashore. It should contain these facilities and areas which should be approved by the administration or an organization. The summary of part B1 is just about the stability of the ship. It discusses about the capability of the ship to pass the inclining test and remain upright in order to be allowed in sailing ashore and dealing with the stresses of the ship. The summary of part B4, which is about the stability management of the ship. It talks about the management of the master to determine whether the ship is competent by its stream or end stability. In addition, the master should also ascertain and record that the ship is in compliance with stability criteria and relevant regulations. For part C, machinery installations, same with the other parts of this presentation, the ship should contain these machineries and or having the failures lessened or not having these kind of mistakes or failures in the machinery in order to operate to make the ship operate properly. Just like the structure of the ship, if one machinery is missing, the ship will not be allowed to set ashore. If in the structure of the ship, every areas and facilities should be complete, it goes the same with the engine room. The machinery installation should also be complete in order for the ship to operate by itself, and in order for the officers and the cadets or the seafarers to operate the ship itself. Next is Part D, electrical installations. In order to make, because not every facility or not every equipment can be used using by navigation itself. Mostly, most of the equipments that can be used on ship or on board ship, especially in the bridge, is electrical. So every electrical installation should also be approved or competent by the SOLAS in order for it to be setting ashore. Because if the electrical installations has it's like a reject product, then it won't be allowed by the organization to set ashore. And if ever it will be set ashore and these problems on electrical installations will be found, then there will be fines, and the ship itself or the ship owner will be dealing with those accusations. The last part is Part F, alternative design and arrangement. This is talking about the modifications and the arrangements that you want to put on the ship before setting ashore, or before going to any voyage, before going to any country, before going to any ashore, any port, for leaving any port. You should first be sure to comply by the organization. You should report to the organization if you will make certain alternative design and arrangement on the ship. Because if you modify the ship and it was not complied or it was not reported to the organization, it will be fined for the captain or the ship owner. It will cause you to go to jail, because it is a criminal act for seafarers to modify the part of the ship. Because like I said, the structural, as you go ashore with the structural structure of the ship, what it is should be let as is. Any modification is not allowed unless reported or approved by the organization. So that is all for our presentation for Group 5, SOLAS Chapter 2 to 1. Sir, thank you, sir.